an overview of admission consulting by Experts Global. In this video, we would be covering the scope of our admission consulting, impact of the same, a bit about the team that would be working with you, process that we follow, ethics, and finally, who must enroll with us. Scope to begin with, this is boutique consulting, which means that there are limited pre-decided number of slots with us. Our calendars are blocked well in advance. Everything works online. Emails are the primary mode of communication. Calls and Skype sessions happen by appointment. We consult for all master degree programs in all geographies. MBA, MSF, MIM, MIS, and all MS programs. Our model is end-to-end admission consulting, so we help with every aspect associated with the application process. Essays, recommendation letters, resume, application forms, interview preparation, and anything else. Some school may ask you for a set of slides, some may ask you for a video or audio, some may ask you for some additional scholarship essays, sometimes a reapplicant essay may be needed. So whatever it is, if it is a part of application, we are going to help you. Impact of our admission consulting. We were founded in 2008. Since then, we have had admits in each of the world's top 150B schools. We have trained students from more than 40 nationalities. Every 10th Indian in the US top 50 MBA programs is our student. This is a stat that we have maintained since 2014. Approximately 90% interview invitations for ISB since 2010, roughly 40% admits, and we specialize in getting scholarships. Every year, our students realize millions of dollars of scholarships, and more than 30 students every year go on 100% scholarship. A bit about your prospective team. Rather than a consultant as such, we would be assigning you a team of specialists, an apps mentor who would be helping you with theme building for your applications, school shortlisting, resume, recommendation letters, and application forms, a writing mentor who would be helping you with writing application essays, an interview mentor who would be helping you with the interview preparation, and you will be assigned 2 student officers who would be helping you with miscellaneous queries through your application process. These are professionals who love mentoring and have guided hundreds and hundreds of students into the world's most eminent institutions. Process that we follow. When you enroll with us, we will be sharing with you a planner with 18 clear milestones with dates for comfortably meeting the deadlines. Each of these 18 milestones would have a clear owner. If you simply honor these 18 milestones, you would realize that the entire application process would be completed in a very systematic and efficient way. When you enroll with us, a separate video would be sent to you describing these 18 milestones and the respective deadlines. Right now, in interest of brevity, I'm not getting into those 18 milestones. Rather, I would just suggest some broad stages that you would undergo through the entire process. So stage 1 is where you would be empowering yourself. You would be sent a set of 20 plus application videos that will equip you with a lot of knowledge about the application process and bust all the myths that you may have in mind around the same. So you see, these are some 21 videos right now, and we keep on adding more and more videos. This may look like a big list, but it will take you only around 4 hours to go through all these videos and take any notes that you may want to take. So after empowering yourself through these videos, which quite capture the crux of all my experience of having taken thousands of students into the top tier institutions, you would then be furnishing details in the form of 2 questionnaires, 20 odd questions in a profiling questionnaire and 10 odd questions in a school shortlisting questionnaire. The questionnaires have very detailed instructions which make you introspect, retrospect, and contemplate to come up with effective and useful drafts as you pour your heart out. Our team would go through your responses. We would have our own internal meetings before we invite you for a brainstorming session over which your apps mentor will help you decide the story for your application, a story that aptly connects your background, goals, vision, and the need for higher education. Once the story is finalized, we shortlist schools for you and we help you in deciding ideal recommenders for your applications, individuals who would bring in additional useful dimensions to your candidature. Then we shall move into getting stuff done. We will help you build your resume, finalize your essays, and once this is done, we help you in reviewing and submitting your applications by going through all your application forms end to end and helping you give useful inputs to your recommenders. While recommendations are confidential, giving your recommenders a list of accomplishments and incidents that can be quoted in the recommendations can always help. We will help you with the same. And finally, without waiting for the formal interview invitations to come in, we will start your interview prep. Once again, you will first watch a set of 15 plus videos. Here is the list. Going through all these videos will take you only around 3 hours and will give you a very strong foundation for your MBA interview preparation. See, the entire application process is extremely meaningful. You get to learn a lot. I was only 24 years old when I was applying, and I remember learning a lot through this entire application process and becoming a better version of myself within a matter of a few months. And what this entire empowering way of admission consulting does is that it ensures that whatever learning you must undergo is effectively imparted, and when you actually start your MBA, you are ready for it. Back to stage 6 here. You watch 15 plus videos, you write answers to 25 plus frequently asked questions, and then you have mocks. Every mock is followed by feedback on all aspects of interviewing: the content, the energy level, the tonality, the body language. And while there is no cap on the number of mocks, generally we see that a candidate requires anywhere between 2 and 4 mocks and a lot of homework on the feedback to hit one's peak. This was a broad overview of the process, and what this organized way of working does is that it ensures there are no horror stories. You must have heard such stories from your friends that the consultant is never reachable. The school shortlisting has been left completely to the applicant, a very, very common mistake. In fact, very often consultants start the discussion with which school are you going to apply to. An applicant more often than not doesn't know, and no matter how good a set of applications you prepare, if the shortlist is not in place, you will not get apt results. Then a common horror story that the reverts come at the fag end, that too in shabby state, that the consultant is just correcting the grammar. The student doesn't know what one is paying for. There are 15 applications submitted but no interview invitation, and there is a new bill for every little thing. This is a part of the package, this is not a part of the package, stuff like that. A very simple thing like interview preparation is not a part of the standard consulting packages, while it is very clear that anybody applying would be needing interview preparation unless the plan is to not get interview invitations. So quite an unhealthy practice to not have such obvious things included in the package and ask for a paycheck later on when one knows that the student needs that help and doesn't have time to go explore. When I was applying myself, I went to all the main consultants in the industry, and with due respect, nobody could inspire confidence. I decided to reinvent the wheel, learn it all myself and do it, as I got some good results and a very deep understanding into the entire application process. I felt that I could help others, and as I founded Experts Global, I ensured a strong code of ethics, at the core of which is that students are a responsibility. Our work touches people's careers and therefore their lives. A student's trust in us is a badge of honor. Next, originality of work. Every draft for every student has to be an original piece. Ownership of results. We work with students not to submit applications, not to fetch interview calls, but to get admits and scholarships. That's why we don't follow a piecemeal approach. All our consulting programs are end-to-end, holistic in nature, under promise. Sometimes, no matter how unpleasant we may sound, it is our job to tell you the facts as they stand. We will not promise you the earth and the sky, but you will see that the results will always be significantly better than whatever little we promise. Sometimes some students don't join us because we don't sugarcoat, and that's totally alright. We will not show you a wrong, rosy picture. Strict privacy. Whatever information, personal details come to us, stay with us. Results on merit. Please don't ask us to fake or cook up stories, and we don't negotiate. All students are same for us. More than half the students come through references. Our charges are the same for everyone. Who must enroll for our admission consulting services? Students who are seeking mentoring must join us. This student-trainer or mentor-mentee relationship has been our approach since inception, and that is what has worked for us over all these years for thousands of students. If at all you have a client-like attitude seeking service, on a very cordial note, we request you to please stop here. We are not the right organization for you. We totally respect that not everybody can understand this mentor-mentee approach, and that's totally all right. We work with a limited number of students who can appreciate this slightly old school approach. Synergy is very important in this highly personal association. Next, applicants who are willing to work very hard. Students who are not trying to find a workaround, rather trying to learn through this very meaningful application process. When you do it right, you will become a better and a more confident version of yourself. And very importantly, students who are willing to honor processes and timelines. I cannot emphasize enough, our processes have got thousands and thousands of students, great admits and scholarships. Please honor them and you will see amazing results. And on that note, I would end this video. In case we work together, your trust would be a badge of honor, and I hope that together we will help you achieve your dreams. Thanks for watching.